Welcome to Wealth and Means, advice dressed up like hard work.
Each week, we explore ideas that help you pause, reflect, and think more deeply about the opportunities all around you.
It's the perfect mix: a little information, a few stats, some real world insights, and just enough deep talk to make you feel smarter before your second cup of coffee.
Means today's episode is loaded. We've got what you didn't see in the news, a look at the global week ahead and wake up ready, a knowledge bomb on how to open and actually use a Roth IRA, a quick dose of humor, the greater debate, and we'll close with our Invent Again spotlight on Xiaowei Zhuang, a physicist who literally changed how we see life itself.
And a shout out to our sponsor, Nos Moments at nosmoments.io. Share your most precious memories. Share the Nos Moments.
All right, let's get started. What you didn't see in the news. This is the segment that skips the front page and dives beneath the noise. Sure, the headlines last week were all politics and markets, but the stories that actually moved people, they were humming in dinner conversations, group chats, and Slack channels. Let's start with the overlooked supplement taking over wellness TikTok. Forget superfood powders. The new biohacking craze is all about molecules, B vitamins, amino acids, polyphenols. People aren't chasing generic health anymore. They're chasing the biochemical edge.
So we've gone from eat your greens to hack your mitochondria. Love it.
Exactly. The implication? We're watching the decommodification of wellness. Instead of take your vitamins, it's take this one compound that might add 2 years to your lifespan. Startups are already pivoting. Expect supplement brands to start sounding like biotech firms and influencers to moonlight as molecular nutritionists. Meanwhile, the Ozempic honeymoon is officially over. Once hailed as a miracle drug, it's now the subject of a messy conversation about side effects, dependency, and cost. The big question isn't does it work, it's what's the price of staying on it forever?
You mean literally and figuratively.
Exactly. It's the rare product that could reshape not just pharma profits, but the economics of food, fitness, and even insurance. Investors are watching. Regulators are nervous. The hangover is policy-sized. And here's one for the therapists, or maybe the engineers. AI chatbots are becoming our late-night confidants. Millions of people are pouring their hearts into silicon ears that never sleep, never judge, and sometimes hallucinate empathy. It's both fascinating and terrifying.
So now we've officially outsourced intimacy to algorithms. Somewhere, Freud is clutching his cigar.
Exactly. It's the accessibility revolution no one expected. But the trade-off? Privacy leaks, emotional dependency, and the strange possibility that we're training ourselves to feel through code. Let's zoom out. China's demographic time bomb ticked a little louder. The country that once defined limitless labor is now aging fast and birthing slow, an economic gray hair moment. Fewer young workers mean higher wages, tighter supply chains, and an inversion of the China price that kept global goods cheap for decades.
So made in China might soon mean priced like Europe.
Exactly right. Apple's margins, Walmart's shelves, even global inflation models, all of them are on notice. And yes, while you were still deciding whether to upgrade your phone, the iPhone 16 rumor mill went nuclear. Not because of the camera specs, but because of one tiny new feature, the capture button. It's Apple's quiet Trojan horse into an AI-driven world where hardware and intelligence blend.
So the smartphone isn't dying, it's just graduating.
Exactly. The personal intelligence device era is here. Expect every competitor to scramble. On the cultural side, Halloween's Fright Geist 2025 revealed something eerie. Pop culture is now algorithmic. The top searched costumes aren't movie icons from last year. They're characters from last week's viral K-pop webtoon.
The content cycle isn't even a circle anymore. It's a treadmill.
Perfectly said. And yes, America's one true bipartisan symbol remains the 12-foot Home Depot skeleton. Meanwhile, our collective psyche on streaming looks like a Rorschach test. The top watch shows, Pixar's Inside Out 2, Joyful Catharsis, and the haunting docuseries Quiet on Set, Institutional Rot. It's a strange Venn diagram of joy and trauma, nostalgia and outrage.
Basically, we cry, then we rage, then we refresh.
That's the algorithmic age in a nutshell. These are the stories you didn't see above the fold, but you definitely felt in your feed. Because the real trends aren't always the loudest ones. They're the ones shaping what we buy, build, and believe next. Wealth, what's coming up in the week ahead.
All right, time to wake up ready. This is your 5-minute head start on the markets, the economy, and the big signals for the week ahead. Grab that coffee refill, let's go. Monday, the U.S. bond markets are closed for Columbus Day, but stocks trade on. Globally, China releases trade data and India follows with inflation, early clues on demand and commodities. If exports look weak, that could signal trouble for manufacturing. The IMF and World Bank meet in D.C., setting the policy tone for the month. We'll also see OPEC's oil report and Oracle's AI World Conference, a preview of how corporate America's pitching AI-powered everything. And earnings kick off with J.B. Hunt and Fastenal, two early reads on logistics and industrial demand. The question for Monday, is global trade quietly stalling, or are we underestimating the world's resilience?
That's a poetic way of saying, watch freight before you watch Facebook.
Exactly. Big Bank Tuesday, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America report before the bell. All eyes on interest margins and credit quality. Are consumers and businesses still paying on time or starting to crack? Fed Chair Powell speaks, which means markets will spend the day decoding adjectives. We'll also get small business optimism data, U.S. inflation updates, Germany's CPI, and the UK's labor report. Meanwhile, Salesforce's Dreamforce begins, reminding us that AI and cloud hype still have legs. The day's big test. Does the data confirm a soft landing or just delayed turbulence?
So basically, hope for clouds, prepare for bumps.
Exactly. Wednesday, circle it in red, Inflation Judgment Day. The CPI drops at 8:30 a.m., and that number will drive the week. If inflation cools, the Fed can breathe. If it heats up, goodbye rate cut dreams. ASML reports before the bell, a window into the semiconductor supply chain behind every AI chip we talk about. Add Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, and Prologis to the mix. Then, the Fed's Beige Book and Atlanta Fed President Bostic's remarks wrap the macro picture. Wednesday's theme, price pressures, production trends, and policy tone, all before lunch.
So basically, have breakfast with anxiety.
Pretty much. And Thursday, think of this as the consumer confidence stress test. Retail sales hit pre-market, showing if Americans are still swiping or finally sweating their balances. Taiwan Semiconductor reports a bellwether for AI chip demand. We'll also get jobless claims, homebuilder sentiment, and the EIA oil report. Earnings from Schwab, Travelers, U.S. Bancorp, and Delta round out the day. The question, can consumers keep the lights on while industry and tech cool down?
I vote yes, powered by caffeine and optimism.
On Friday, we close the week with industrial production, capacity utilization, and housing starts. Key clues for whether the soft landing still has lift. Regional lenders like Truist and Comerica report, and American Express caps things off by showing if the high-end consumer is still living large. Europe finishes with its final September inflation print, just in time for next week's central bank debates.
So we'll find out if the economy's gliding on momentum or running purely on vibes.
Exactly. That's your Wake Up Ready rundown for the week of October 13th. Stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, information is power, but timing is everything.
All right, time for a knowledge bomb.
Let's talk about one of the simplest, smartest, most underappreciated tools for long-term tax-free growth, the Roth IRA.
Ah, yes, the account that future you will thank present you for opening.
Exactly, here's the idea. You invest money you've already paid taxes on. Then it grows. And when you retire, all that growth, all those dividends and gains, come out tax-free.
It's the ultimate set it and forget it compounding machine, if you actually set it up.
Right? But there are strings. You need earned income from a job, a side hustle, a business. and your income can't exceed annual limits. Too high, and your contribution phases out. Meet those requirements, and you can open one in minutes.
It's not a product, it's an account type. You can set it up online with Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, whatever platform you like. The sign-up process is about as easy as ordering sneakers.
Then you fund it by linking your checking account. You'll name a beneficiary, just in case, and voila. But here's the catch. A Roth by itself doesn't do anything. It's just an empty bucket.
Exactly. You have to invest inside it. Leaving it in cash defeats the purpose.
So fill it with investments that fit your timeline. If you're younger, lean toward long-term growth, broad index funds or ETFs. If you want simplicity, use a target date fund that automatically adjusts over time. Whatever you do, stay invested. Compounding needs consistency, not cleverness.
And funding it, that's habit meets strategy. You can contribute up to the annual limit, a few $1,000s, either all at once or little by little. Automate it, set it, and forget it.
Because over decades, those quiet contributions snowball, tax-free.
It's not just a math move, it's a mindset. You're saying, I'll pay taxes now so I never have to later. That's intentional investing.
10 minutes to open, decades to grow. That's how quiet wealth gets built.
All right, let's lighten things up. A woman in Greece recently took AI faith to a whole new level.
Oh no, what'd she do?
She wanted to know if her husband was cheating. But instead of talking to him or a therapist, she turned to coffee grounds and ChatGPT.
Wait, she asked AI to read her espresso sludge?
Exactly. She sent in a photo and said, interpret this for me. And the AI in full oracle mode said, yes, he's seeing another woman, younger. Name starts with E.
You're kidding.
I only wish. 3 days later, she filed for divorce. True story. The irony is thicker than the coffee. A woman used a billion-dollar AI to validate a millennia-old superstition and torpedoed a 12-year marriage.
Forget therapy. Just ask your algorithm what destiny thinks.
Exactly. We've reached the point where ChatGPT might be listed as co-litigant in a Greek divorce filing. The future is bizarre. And now for my favorite segment. The greater debate. Who owns the future of intelligence? Each week we host the greater debate, the debate that should happen but hasn't. Through the power of imagination, caffeine, and let's be honest, a full night's recovery sleep, we conjure what that debate could sound like. So close your eyes. Picture the stage with me. The lights are dim, 2 chairs, 1 glass table, a faint audience murmur. Behind them, a stark white backdrop reads in bold sans serif the great AI debate, open versus closed. Soft spotlights rise as the moderator's voice fades into the background. And there they are, Mira Murati and Jason Calacanis, 2 titans of tech philosophy, ready to spar over the question, who owns the future of intelligence? Act 1, opening statements. Mira speaks first, calm, deliberate, the tone of an engineer who's had to explain fire safety to pyromaniacs. Mira begins, Jason, I admire your passion, I really do. But this romanticism around OpenAI for all has to grow up. This isn't a GitHub repo, it's civilization-scale technology. When systems can write code, persuade voters, even design plutonium weapons, you need governance, not anarchy. Closed AI isn't greed, it's safety gating. She pauses, looks at the audience, the kind of pause that says, you know I'm right. Then she continues. Enterprises, regulators, and ordinary users need one thing, trust. And trust isn't open source. It's built, audited, and insured. Closed AI provides service-level guarantees, indemnities, and accountability. That's why every major enterprise, finance, healthcare, government, chooses it. Open is exciting, closed is safe, and safety is what scales. Then Jason leans forward, half grin, half provocation. Mira, Jason says, I love that you mentioned plutonium, because what you're describing is nuclear power locked in a vault, not shared energy for the world. Let's be honest, safety has become the new word for control. Closed AI means a handful of companies deciding who gets access to intelligence, who innovates, and who doesn't. It's the same movie we saw with smartphones, open Android versus closed iOS. Guess what? Android won the planet. iOS kept the margins. If you care about civilization, you don't build moats, you build highways. OpenAI lets a teenager in Nairobi or a startup in Boise compete with trillion-dollar firms. That's not chaos, that's democracy. And if you think innovation is dangerous, wait until we see what monopolies can do. The crowd leans in, the kind of silence that vibrates. Act 2, the clash. Mira doesn't flinch. Her reply cuts with surgical calm, like a physicist with a scalpel. Mira opens. Jason, democracy doesn't mean anyone gets to rewrite the laws of physics. Open models can be hijacked, exfiltrated, or fine-tuned into deepfake factories overnight. You'd hand that power to every troll farm with a GPU cluster? The line between innovation and misuse is paper thin. Closed ecosystems let us detect, rate limit, and contain misuse. You call it control, I call it containment. That's not dystopian, it's responsible. Jason tilts his head, smirks. Containment is just censorship with better branding, he replies. Yes, bad actors exist, but open ecosystems also create watchdogs. Transparency is the best disinfectant. When weights are open, researchers can audit bias, test safety, and patch vulnerabilities faster than any corporate red team. Closed systems hide their mistakes. Open systems learn from theirs. And let's not pretend enterprises pick closed because of trust. They pick it because it's bundled, convenient, and sometimes because they don't realize there's a better way. You can't trust what you can't see. The verbal sparks fly, her logic against his liberty. One argues for guardrails, the other for open roads, and somewhere in between, the audience starts taking sides. Act 3, moments of reflection. Mira softens, her voice drops to something almost confessional. Jason, I'll give you this. Transparency matters, Mira agrees. We've seen what happens when a few companies hold opaque power, social media, data brokers, you name it. But open AI doesn't automatically mean transparent AI. Code isn't comprehension. We need interpretability, evaluation standards, oversight, not just code dumps. Yes, openness is valuable when it's safe and auditable, but we're not there yet. If we open everything today, we might not get to fix it tomorrow. Jason nods, for once not as a show, but in understanding. Jason offers, fair, safety without bureaucracy, transparency without chaos, that's the sweet spot. But Mira, the closed path leads us to a world where 5 CEOs decide what intelligence is allowed to exist. That's not just bad economics, it's a civilizational chokehold. You can't build a future for everyone if no one else can build the tools. And if your model is so fragile that openness breaks it, maybe the problem isn't openness. Maybe it's the model. The closing arguments. Mira straightens. Her voice is sharp again, but now there's gravity in it, not pride. We're not building a game. We're building infrastructure for cognition. Closed AI gives humanity a steering wheel. It ensures accountability, audits, and consistent standards before we hit the next curve. Progress without guardrails isn't freedom, it's a cliff. You can call it closed, I call it custodianship. Mira is firm in this conviction. Jason waits a beat, smiles, but not mockingly this time. He begins, custodianship sounds noble until the custodians start locking the doors. Humanity's greatest breakthroughs came from open labs, open code, open minds. Openness doesn't just distribute risk, it multiplies creativity. And maybe, just maybe, that's the safest thing we can do. The future of intelligence shouldn't be owned, it should be shared. Epilogue. The lights dim. The audience buzzes, half nodding at Mira's precision, half electrified by Jason's rebellion. No winner, no final truth. Just tension, the good kind. The kind that keeps the world arguing, building, and thinking. And that, my friends, was the greater debate. Because in this one, you don't get to pick a side. You just get to decide how much of the future you're willing to open.
Nicely done. Now, Let's invent again with Xiaowing. Every once in a while, someone quietly rewrites the rules of what's possible. In 2006, that someone was Xiaowei Zhuang, pronounced Shouwei Zhuang, a Harvard physicist with an eye not just for the invisible, but for the impossibly small.
If you've ever seen a cell image so crisp it looked like an architect drew it, odds are her fingerprints are in the pixels. Zhuang invented stochastic optical reconstruction microscopy, STORM, a technique that shattered the century-old diffraction limit of light. For 100 years, physicists swore nothing smaller than 200 nanometers could be seen with visible light. It was as sacred as the speed of light itself. And then she broke it elegantly.
The spark, turning randomness into resolution. Imagine standing in a meadow at night, trying to count fireflies, all blinking at once, overlapping into chaos. Zhuang's genius was to make them blink one at a time.
With STORM, fluorescent molecules on a sample flicker randomly, stochastically, between on and off. Each blink is captured with nanometer precision. Then, frame by frame, millions of these flickers are stitched together into a razor-sharp molecular map.
The result? Images 10 times sharper than before, like swapping a blurry satellite shot for Google Street View, but at the scale of proteins.
And that insight, turning randomness into information, defines Zhuang. Raised in Rugao, China, the daughter of two professors, she grew up with academic freedom and a ferocious curiosity. She once said, "If I'm interested in something, I can sit there for hours and not be distracted." That focus carried her from the University of Science and Technology of China to Berkeley, Stanford, and finally Harvard, where curiosity became invention. When STORM arrived, biology got an upgrade in sight. Structures that were once theories became photographs. Her team soon discovered a ring-like skeleton in neurons, actin bands connected by spectrin, arranging axons like bridge trusses. One paper, one image, and neuroscience textbooks had to be rewritten.
Harvard licensed STORM to Nikon, which released NSTORM in 2010. A physics experiment became a billion-dollar imaging ecosystem, now powering drug discovery, neurobiology, and cancer labs across the world.
But she didn't stop at seeing. In 2015, Zhuang introduced MERFISH, multiplexed error-robust fluorescence in situ hybridization. If STORM showed us where molecules are, MERFISH revealed what they're saying. Think of MERFISH as spatial omics meets barcode scanner. It tags thousands of RNA molecules with unique fluorescent codes, then decodes them in place, mapping the genetic conversations happening inside every cell. That leap from what's there to what it's saying turned microscopy into a data science problem.
Her company, Vizgen, founded in 2019, turned it into a platform. Their MERScope instruments now let researchers build three-dimensional tissue atlases, brains, tumors, organs, each molecule located, labeled, and listened to.
Today, spatial biology is the frontier of life science, the way AI is for tech. Every major pharma company is racing to map how cells organize, signal, and cooperate. And Zhuang's work is the scaffolding underneath it all.
STORM made the invisible visible, revealing the nanoscale machinery of life. MERFISH made it interpretable, translating those structures into meaning. Together, they form biology's Google Maps, zooming from molecule to cell neighborhood to entire organism.
And depending on who you are, it resonates differently. Some of you will see curiosity breaking physics and spawning a product. Others can imagine Vizgen's spatial omics pipeline reshaping biotech valuations, while others love a founder move, take randomness, turn it into structured data. The through line, curiosity, code, clarity.
Across everything she's done, Zhuang treats nature like an encryption problem. She keeps inventing new codecs for biology, ways to record, decode, and visualize information at scales once thought unreachable.
That mindset, half scientist, half systems engineer, is why her ideas keep rippling outward. From the bench to the biotech startup to the global human cell atlas.
So, when we talk about seeing the unseen, it isn't just a metaphor. Thanks to Xiaowei Zhuang, we literally can.
And the takeaway? Whether it's photons, code, or capital markets, there's always another layer beneath the resolution limit. You just need the right mind to make it blink.
And that's it for another episode of Wealth and Means. Advice dressed up like hard work.
We hope you enjoyed the range from macro to molecular, from humor to high finance.
Subscribe, rate, and share this episode. It really helps more than you think.
We do this for you, to help you have a better week, a sharper mind, and maybe even a longer attention span.
And special thanks to our sponsor, Nost Moments, because the best investments are still your memories.
Until next time, stay curious
Stay kind.
and keep compounding.